Hey guys, it's Carla. Today I'm painting a beautiful iris. I know that a lot of people struggle with irises because there's so much to them, I guess, and maybe the shape of them is hard. But so we're going to work on that today. So I've got the base coat on my board and it's dry, and now I want to mix up like a watered down color to go on top of it. And there's really no science to this. You can just put whatever colors you like on the board. In fact, the flower can be a different color than what I do. But I just like kind of a messy, abstract background. And a lot of this is going to get covered up anyway, but it's nice to have that movement back there. Now I love this phthalo blue and white, little pops of it. It's just such a bright, I don't know, just a happy color, I guess. So I'm using a paper towel to dab this on there. And then I want to pick up little sparks of white to go in it too, to kind of brighten it up a little bit. I like to come up with different background textures and stuff, so and flowers are a good way to do that because it almost doesn't matter what's back there behind it. You just want some movement and texture, so I like to play around with the background. So I'm cleaning up my palette there. And like I said, you can make your iris any color that you want. I'm mixing white, red, and violet for most of my flower, but irises come in a lot of different colors. So I'm using a flat synthetic brush, and to create these edges, I'm just kind of scumbling my brush. I'm using the corner of my brush to create these edges and just kind of scumbling back and forth. And this is the top part of the flower, so like the top petals. And it kind of creates like a bowl right there at the bottom. So now for the bottom petals, I want to darken it. I want a really dark shade down there. But again, it depends on the color flower you're painting. So now I just want to create a shape for these three bottom petals. So this is my front petal. And then I've got a petal hanging down over here. And on these side petals, you're seeing the side view of them, so they're not as wide, or they don't look as wide from this angle. And now I want to come back and change that petal a little bit. I wanted it a little bit longer. All right, so now I want an in-between color. So I want to mix those two shades together. And this will go up into the, it'll bring some of that bottom color up into the top and some of the top color into the bottom. So it kind of brings them together. And I'm just barely touching the canvas, so it gives it that soft blended look. So with the edge of the petals, if you'll put your brush all the way against the edge, then it'll give you that sharp edge that you want, and then on the other side of it, you just blend it out with your finger to give it that soft look. So all of your brush marks, when you first put them on there, they're going to look hard on both sides. But anywhere that you want to soften that up, you just rub it with your finger. But there's a lot of places that you want to leave that hard edge. And when you're softening this up with your finger, you have to do it as soon as you put it on, because you know that acrylic paint dries really fast, and you have to do this while it's wet. And there's times you can blend it with the brush. I mean, kind of blur it out with the brush. But I find that the finger works usually better than the brush for blurring it. Now I just want a lighter shade to start highlighting those top petals. And again, I'm using the edge of the brush I'm kind of reshaping this petal right here, but I'm using the edge of the brush to give me that hard edge, and then I'm smudging it out with my finger. And you always want to go in the direction that you want your petals to go when you're smudging with your finger. So like drag down toward the center of the flower where everything meets. So I'm going to zoom in right here and show you how to make kind of a curled petal. So see, I've got, it's sharp on both sides. This highlight is sharp on both sides. On this bottom part, I want to blend it on the left, and on the top part, I want to blend it on the right. And that makes it look like it's curled over. And you can do that anywhere on the flower. Now that one right there, I'm making it look like it's curled, so I'm leaving the hard edge on the right and then blending out the left. And you can do all kinds of things with these petals. That's what I love about the irises, is there's so much detail to them, but the detail's not hard to create. It's just there's a lot of waviness to the petals, and it looks really good when you're finished with it, because it looks like you put a lot of time and effort into it, but it really is not hard to do at all. Now, I had one of you comment on wanting me to explain better how I'm mixing the colors. And I really don't know how to do that, because I just kind of pick up what I feel like I want at the time, and it's and sometimes I go back and paint over it. So it's really just personal preference, whatever shades you like, and you can play around with your colors and see what combinations make the colors that you like. Like when you're not painting, just play around with your paint and see what kind of colors you can create. So on these side petals, I want to make sure I get highlights on the top of them, but then everything else is just whatever happens, but I want that top edge to be highlighted because the light is coming from the top. I'm going to have this petal kind of pointing down, kind of turned. Okay, now I'm mixing some yellow and yellow ochre to put those little dabs of yellow that you see in irises. I don't really know what they are. Maybe they're seed pods or something, but they're usually yellow. Or kind of a yellowish, almost a yellowish orange, I guess. And then with not much paint on my brush, I'm just going to kind of brush some of that color up into the top petals. All right, now I'm going to start on my Greenery. And this is all very loose. It's just, I just want some green color in there and some suggestion of leaves and stem. So I'm going to start from I'm not painting right there, but I'm imagining a line going all the way to the center of the flower. If your stem doesn't aim toward the center, then it looks off. So make sure it's going in the right direction. And then these are just, I'm just going to speed through this, but these are just little leaf and grass shapes. Very loose. And I'll come back to that later. Come back and put some more dark in later. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight some of them. And this is just a process. You just go back and forth. You can go back to the flower and then back to the greenery and just back and forth. But I like this loose, abstract kind of look. Okay, now I'm going to completely change the shade of my flower just with glaze. So I've mixed some extender in with some red, and notice how this changes the shade of the flower. It just really warms it up. So I'm just barely skimming over the petals. So now I'm going back to my greenery. And I'm using extender to really thin this down because I don't want to completely cover what I've put on there. So with a thin, almost a glaze, you'll still be able to see those leaves back there behind. And I'll come back and do other stuff to that. So now I'm back to my flower, and I want to kind of, I guess, make the edges more bold in places. So I'm kind of using this same technique, just putting more white on and blurring it out toward the bottom. And this will make the petals really pop. I love playing around with this. There's so much you can do with this flower. You can create all kinds of little wavy petals and highlights. It's really fun to play with. All right, now back to my red glaze. Now I want to just very lightly kind of come over most of the highlights that I just put on. Now I'm not gonna cover all of them up, but that light being back there, that white being back there, makes this red show up better, this pink basically show up better. But I don't want to cover up all of the white. And at the top, I want to leave it brighter because it's catching more light and it's a different color anyway. It's a lighter shade anyway. So now I want to put some highlights in my greenery. All right, now I also want to bring some of that blue that I've got up there at the top. I want to carry it throughout the painting. So I'm just going to brush some of that in. And this is strictly for aesthetics. It's not for realism or anything. This is very abstract, but I just want to carry that color throughout. And then I can lightly brush it into the flower itself and kind of bring it all together, kind of unify everything. Guys, please let me know if you have any particular flowers you want me to paint. Alright, so now I've watered down that blue, not watered, I've used extender, but you could use water. But with a fan brush, I'm just thinning out that color. And I want to splatter it all over the whole painting. And you can do as little or as much of this as you want. But make sure that you're finished with everything before you do this, because it would be hard to go back after this. And that's it, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and God bless you.